Welcome to the video on identity. It probably matches the topic that we start with a white background this time, as we humans are kind of blank sheep of paper after birth, a tabula rasa, as some might call it. The question, who am I, in the beginning of the question of identity, and the sum of all the answers to it form the identity of a person. Identity is given or attributed from the outside, that is so to say, by other people, but also defined and accepted by ourselves. Addressing identity is important in two ways. We need cultural sensitization. This means that we have to get to know our own culture better and everything we have previously seen as normal. Our own cultural background is the biggest stumbling block on the way to intercultural competence. That's why we need to become aware of our own culture and identity. Because everything we see and describe as foreign, as other, we compare to the background formed by our own identity and cultural background. Secondly, in our increasingly diverse and multicultural society, more and more people already have multiple cultural backgrounds from their parents, from moving for training or for professional reasons, or often marrying someone from another country or another region within the country. In short, an actually existing multiculturalism and the question of how individuals culturally define themselves and how they are defined by their surroundings. Let's take a look at the identity pyramid. Perhaps I could tell you a sentence, or better, 3 sentences, each of which is equally true, but also these 3 sentences are contradictory. Every person is the same, every person is like some others, and every person is unique. Once again, every person is like every other human. Every person is like some other persons in the persons group, and every person is an individual and is unique. So, every person is equal when it comes to our human nature. We all need to drink, eat, sleep, go to the toilet, and want to be loved in the groups in which we live. Everyone is like some other people when it comes to what is customary in our groups, how we greet, how we show gratitude or celebrate our festivals. And every person is unique when it comes to personal characteristics. The good listener, the helpful friend, or the special temperament someone has. Seen in this way, there are answers to the question, who am I? In the form of individual characteristics, such as musical, helpful or committed, or internally given identity is the top of the pyramid and is very personal. We know, as does our family and maybe our very best friends, know this personal identity. Or there are answers with affiliation to larger groups, such as student, Englishman, or business person, student, French. In each context or situation, a different facet of our identity becomes important. Our externally determined, our foreign given identity is usually a social identity. It is created through belonging to certain groups, or the idea that you belong to a certain group. This can lead to problems, especially in diverse and multicultural societies. If there are strong contradictions between the self-given and the foreign-given identity, especially if this foreign-given identity differs due to stereotypes and prejudices from the identity people would give themselves. However, we do not need to refer to different cultural or migration backgrounds. These foreign-given identities already exist in a village society too, when people are referred to their group identity as the hard-drinking soccer players, or as the locals or the new locals. Thereby, the assumed and ascribed characteristics of the group are projected on the individual. How does the identity emerge if it is attributed and accepted anyway? Our first level of socialization is, of course, the family. In our family, identity is formed by and with our parents and our siblings, of course. We talk about what we're good at, how we react to certain events, and in general, who we are in our family. Our social environment, initially perhaps the kindergarten, school, training company, or university and our professional environment, they all also have an influence on our identity formation. There's another area that plays a role in the development of our identity, and this area includes classic media such as television and newspapers, but also social media when it comes to the groups to which we supposedly belong. What are the US Americans or Germans like? How do women or men behave in general? We could speak of this area as public opinion if such a thing exists. But in any case, we're referring to external attributions. If people have different family and surrounding cultures, for example, if the family comes from another country or lives as a minority in a society, the cultural differences can lead to conflicts, which these people can usually resolve very well and very professionally. They're experienced mediators when it comes to explaining events in the family, at school or work, but especially when it comes to explaining their family culture at work, at school or in a club, for example. Very often these explanations begin with the words, "with us," or "in my family." We celebrate Christmas 9 days later, we're Orthodox Christians, or we eat after sunset at Ramadan. In these encounters, people have the chance to negotiate and correct false or foreign given characteristics. On the other hand, they have little or no influence in the area of external attributions, in what is said about their groups on television, in films or in jokes, in newspapers and in social media. There is no possibility of negotiation. In recent years, more and more people with a migration background have spoken up with the question, when will I be fully accepted and belonging? Or simply with reports about how the majority society deals with minorities. You will find linked videos about this in your learning module or in the YouTube description in the appendix on YouTube. At this point, I would like to refer to the Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen, who as a child in India had to witness the clashes between Hindus and Muslims before Indian independence. He observed how the neighbor with many identities, the mechanic, the father's friend, the cricket player, the family man, and many more became, in the conflict, someone with only one identity, the Muslim. In his book, Identity in Violence, The Illusion of Destiny, Amartya Sen sheds light on the exciting diverse identities that we humans have and how these diverse and many identities form the actual social network in our societies. It was religious identity, politics, that caused India to break up in a civil war back then in Yugoslavia in the 1990s. Right-wing identity politics refers primarily to the people or to the nation. In recent years, the so-called identitarian movement has emerged in Europe and the United States, which, against the background of cultural changes, stoking fear of an alleged loss of identity. But you can't win or lose culture. Cultural formation is a process through which people give meaning to the world and in which they live. However, This racist movement with an intellectual tinge and action forms copied from leftists' movement has become popular with the populist and far right, but also with the traditional right. Left-wing identity politics, on the other hand, fights for the rights of minorities such as the LGBTQI community and reached a global peak with the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. While the fight for rights of structurally disadvantaged minorities is a legitimate concern, identity politics has been accused of promoting social division by emphasizing the identity of minorities, moralizing and even fueling stereotypical thinking. Newer stereotypes and advantages such as that of the boomer or the old white man feed back into the discourse of identity politics. Through dubious and poorly thought out terms such as cultural appropriation, the left seems to be playing the right game in this area. For related topics to identity, see the stereotypes and attribution videos. Most importantly, you will find the must-see video there and in the links here. All that we share from Danish television. On YouTube, I encourage you to leave your remarks in the comment section and to like and to subscribe. And I look forward to your valued cooperation and feedback on the seminar on the online learning platforms.